Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this reading I'm going to be looking into your next big romance. Who's coming in and when might you expect to encounter them? There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Opalite heart. Group 2 is the Unakite heart. And group 3 is the Obsidian heart. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for. So again, I'll give you a minute. Please use the timestamps and we'll get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. I chose the Opalite heart. So I'm going to start with some tarot and oracle cards to get a little bit of information about your next big romance, who's coming in, qualities and characteristics about them that come through at this point. I'll get some attribute cards at the end to try and get a little more specific about that, but I'll be looking for details about how you meet them, things that might help them to stand out to you, and anything at this point that comes through as far as timing is concerned. Okay, so we have the Chariot, which is Cancer. 3 of Pentacles, which is Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. 8 of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. King of Wands, so more fire energy. 9 of Wands, fire energy again. Sudden wealth. Thief. Letter. Reiki, and flowers. So with this element of distance, with the Chariot here, as well as with the Eight of Wands, a card of communication, this is really feeling to me like somebody that you might meet online, somebody who reaches out to you through some kind of social media profile, someone who may live at a distance from you. And it could even be that the geographic distance that separates the two of you, or the nature of kind of how they make that first move towards you, it leaves you feeling a little bit guarded with this Nine of Wands, this Wounded Warrior card, a little bit skeptical. Maybe you have had connections with people online before and it hasn't worked out so well. So when this person comes around, you're almost thinking, here we go again. I don't want to go down this path anymore. I'm not interested in being catfished or deceived. The last time it was very hard to, communicate and build trust and kind of really establish something in a very substantial way. Feelings were maybe being exchanged or built that could have been very lopsided or one-sided. And so there's a guardedness almost to where you are sort of wanting to keep this person at arm's length. Maybe it's almost going to take some time with this King of Wands to really build that trust. This feels like somebody also that you may kind of reject them, overlook them at first, yet they are persistent in this with this Three of Pentacles. It's like they keep trying to get through to you, not in a persistent or pushy way, but just trying different approaches in some manner. They may approach you through work or with kind of a proposal to collaborate on something, some kind of a question that they have for you, something where they're trying to almost build these mutual sort of points of interest, this foundation with one another through some kind of shared interest, some kind of shared community, something that really starts off as just kind of like small talk or very mundane in nature. But this is definitely somebody with all this fire energy that is deeply attracted to you. They want to get to know you. They don't just want to kind of have this dwell in the realm of friendship. They feel very almost lucky to have encountered you. It feels almost very serendipitous that in some manner what they are able to really glean from you, what they're able to observe as you are kind of in the process of exchanging with one another, even as you're very guarded and very discerning, they feel that they've hit the jackpot with you in some manner. This is somebody who, they're not going to get discouraged almost by this guardedness, this sense of really having very heavy discernment, vetting this person out pretty substantially. This idea with the key here and the lock, that you're not so quick to open your heart up to this person. Maybe again, these circumstances are very similar to something or a series of somethings that you've been through as far as disappointments with online connections or meeting people in that manner. Something to do with like long distance connections you've had in the past where it's really fallen apart. Trust has been kind of an issue in those circumstances, or has just been kind of questionable. Even if it was nothing that necessarily went on, it was something that just operated as like a wedge or a barrier in the past, where you almost had made this vow or promised to yourself not to go down that road again. The idea of letter as well with this Eight of Wands is again a lot of this communication back and forth. So a lot of texting, emailing, DMs on social media, for example. It takes some time to really get your guard down and get you to open up to this individual. But they feel very patient, very certain with this King of Wands here. They're willing to put in the effort, to take the time that's necessary to help you feel very at ease with them. The idea of flowers ties into kind of these seeds that are planted between the two of you by way of, again, that kind of small talk, that surface level. allowing time to pass, even kind of rough periods, rough patches where, maybe you are a bit triggered, you're kind of feeling very skeptical, you're starting to sort of develop feelings for this person and needing to sort of pull away. They're very patient with that. It's something where they are looking at you as the kind of person that they would like to invest with in a long-term sense. And so this feels like somebody who is gonna do what it takes in order to really, through consistency and time, prove their loyalty to you, prove their trustworthiness to you. Someone who may at one point in time, or just even in the words that they speak, they may feel very kind of like too good to be true. This may be something where there's kind of a miscommunication between the two of you, where you almost feel like this person may be love bombing you, putting you on. You may even kind of be suspicious of, are they trying to catfish you in some kind of manner, and that this causes you to kind of retreat into yourself, to put up that guard, to be extra discerning about the circumstance and the situation. So it feels like something that is very slow to develop into this realm of romance. This may even be somebody that you are talking to at this point in time. You may be at that place of sort of establishing that foundation with one another. This could be where, maybe you even work for the same company or corporation, but you're in two different kind of like satellite offices. So you have a lot of this communication back and forth, via kind of like inter-office chat systems, for example, emails that you're having to exchange. Maybe you even just work in different departments, to where there's a lot of almost this person kind of going out of their way to seek your opinion, seek your expertise, your knowledge about something, kind of adding in these little hints and these little bits where they try to sort of branch the conversation out longer than it needs to be. It's not just kept completely professional, but there's like these personal elements that they try to sort of build and add into this, trying to kind of get to know you. It feels that a lot of this may come in the form of them opening up first, them volunteering a lot of information, to where you might almost be kind of skeptical, not wanting to say trauma bond with somebody, or being a little uncertain, like, why are they telling me all of this? Why are they being almost like in the realm of oversharing a little bit? Things that kind of make you, again, sort of be very discerning, very kind of not necessarily ready to rush into this, but it's this idea that over time, and with kind of the consistency and the patience that this person displays, even as you may be the one to kind of vacillate, go back and forth as far as, is this trustworthy? Is this somebody that you really want to open up to? Everything seems legitimate on the surface, but some things that might be deeply triggered within you, again, memories and kind of wounds from the past, and times when things weren't as they seemed on the surface, that through all of that, you actually have a lot in common with this person, as different as the two of you may be. There may be some kind of an age difference, or again, that idea of like a geographic distance between the two of you, different kind of upbringings, different cultures, different backgrounds. There may even be like a language barrier between the two of you, where a lot's lost in translation, in kind of the area of, again, this nature of like a virtual or online communication, or even just something in terms of kind of the translations that are being used, where there are almost these little slip-ups or these periods of time where something is really misconstrued, and it makes you very skeptical. It makes you almost kind of want to pull back, be like in a heightened level of discernment with this individual. And so it takes time to kind of learn that about one another, kind of learn to read deeper than just kind of the words that are expressed. Again, especially if there's like a language barrier between the two of you, that it may take some time to really back things up and sort of decipher and discern what was intended versus what kind of maybe came out very, very accidentally, like an innocent mistake. And it feels like something too where it's a lot of this kind of it's like a tension almost that, as you're kind of exchanging with this person, as you're getting to know them, it's this idea of like feelings that are starting to build that you're almost having to put the brakes on with yourself and say, I don't necessarily want to go down this road. Like, what can this really turn into? What can this manifest into? What can we build from this? Because there are these maybe geographic obstacles between the two of us, even just kind of that idea of, that initial sort of point of meeting, being online, for example. It doesn't feel like somebody that you find on a dating site or somebody that finds you on a dating site where you're like deliberately putting yourself out there with the intention that after a certain period of conversing with people, you'd meet up, you'd get together, you'd go out on a date. This is something entirely different. It's a different type of forum, a different type of community, something where they notice you, so something maybe where an algorithm recommends your profile to them, and they start following you, they start kind of, liking your stories, commenting on things, reaching out to you, again, maybe with something that you do professionally online. They may come to you for that. They may try to start off almost as like a client, for example, seeking in your help and your assistance in kind of building something for themselves. So maybe some of you are like a counselor, or maybe even like a reader. You have some kind of spiritual business, some kind of spiritual service, something where maybe even if this is like an in-person sort of thing, because it doesn't have to be online for everyone. This can be something where this is a client that comes to you maybe for energy work, or maybe you're a massage therapist, for example. You work someplace where as they come in, they're almost like kind of like getting supplies for whatever it is that they do for a living. Wherever it is that you work, in some way it's almost they're needing to come there for work purposes, but they sort of make these excuses to come in a lot more than they need to. This can even, I'm hearing post office with that letter. So some of you or somebody may work at a post office, and this is like someone that, is continually coming in, like asking for labels, coming in to mail things that they could have just easily put in a box, or they could have had couriered or picked up, and yet they're making this excuse to kind of go out of their way. It's more than just kind of that dealing back and forth with one another, across like the counter. Maybe even some of you are a mail carrier, and this is something where you are delivering the mail to this person's place of business, and they're almost stopping you and trying to, engage you in conversation more than just, oh, thanks, here's this, this outgoing mail that has to be taken, that it's something where they, they're delving into more with you. And because of even that kind of area of almost like barrier, like a professional constraint, like you're on the job, you're working, you're trying not to mix business with pleasure, according either to your training, or maybe that's happened before and it got really complicated, or it's just you're not in that particular venue, you're not really looking for this. And so it feels to be something that's kind of, you have your guard off, you're a bit standoffish with this person, but they're very almost persistent in this. They're not easily discouraged. It feels like this is someone with a lot of confidence. They may work in kind of a high position, be sort of a head, like a manager of a department, the owner of a company, or they're coming towards you wanting to almost seek your guidance, your knowledge, your expertise, something that you offer, or that you can provide some kind of a good or a service that helps them to be more efficient in their day-to-day operations, helps to restore them to a state of wellness or wholeness in some manner. For some of you, this can also be that they are coming to you for the purposes of almost trying to work through some kind of issues or problems that they're having to restore themselves to a place of wellness. So maybe this is something where, they're coming into like a supplement store, for example, and you have like herbal remedies or vitamins, something like that. This can even be like a food, like a natural food store, for example. Something where, this person's trying to eat out less, cook more, and they're sort of picking your brain for, do you cook? What are some recipes that you use? What could this ingredient be used for? What about that one? And they're asking a lot of questions, trying to kind of engage conversation outside of the realm of just kind of the surface level or layer of what almost like this excuse that they're making to talk to you. And it's something that occurs frequently. You almost see them kind of on a regular basis, or what may have been kind of sporadic contact, it increases. And with that is almost like, again, this more excuses to just sort of see you and talk to you. And to try and, get your opinion about things that have to do with whatever this kind of surface aspect of how you're meeting them is, but then they almost lead that into, well, what do you think about this? What's your opinion on that? What do you use, or what do you do to, achieve a certain thing, or to, maintain balance? What do you like to do on your days off? How do you decompress? How do you unplug? It's things like that where kind of like gradually they're sort of moving beyond just those surface level conversations into more things of a personal nature. But it may take some time for you to fully open up to that, but it definitely feels like something, obviously, because the topic of this reading is your next big romance. So with that element of guardedness, this is something that develops into something with those flowers. This does blossom, these almost efforts that this person makes, the patience, the dedication, the consistency. They're in this for the long term. They're not easily discouraged. They on some level understand, based on the nature of how the two of you have kind of run into each other, you've found each other. It really feels like they have found you. They have sought you out, almost without meaning to. It's like a happy coincidence. Again, like they feel like they've hit the jackpot or the lottery. You are not what they were looking for. You are not what they would expect to find in kind of whatever this mundane circumstance is. And so their efforts with this confidence, this not easily being swayed, it's almost like they're brushing off if you're a bit moody or guarded. You're kind of short with your answers. You're keeping it very kind of above board. You're staying very business oriented with them, trying to maintain kind of that professional decorum. It's something that through their consistency, through their effort, they eventually sort of whittle down your defenses, and you're able to really kind of see an aspect of this self, or you work into a place of feeling very comfortable. Maybe there's other people that kind of know them that sort of you're able to talk to, and that can verify, that can vouch for this person, that they're legitimate, that they're a nice person, that they're a good person, they're well-meaning, they're honest, they are who they say they are. Just whatever that kind of amounts to. It may be something as well where you kind of take it upon yourself to do a little bit of research on them, kind of look into their backstory as you start to kind of feel something, the stirrings of something between the two of you. There's this interest in almost playing detective in this circumstance to find out, what's the deal with this person really? What's really going on with them? Is there anything that you need to be aware of? Is there any kind of catch to this? That it feels almost too good to be true. And so whatever that process is, this feels to be like a slow developing situation, but it does lead to romance. It does lead to, a situation that it's almost the time that it has taken to lay this foundation between the two of you. And I'm hearing to win your heart, with the idea of the key and the heart-shaped lock there, that the effort and the patience and dedication this person puts in, it serves this connection very well. The two of you, in fact, have a lot in common. You're very compatible despite those outward differences, and you really find this common ground. You meet in the middle. It becomes very enduring, very sweet. What may have at first almost felt like a nuisance or something that you were a bit skeptical about with this person, it's something that you almost look forward to. You almost miss that kind of continuity if something happens and the two of you, you're not interacting at a period of time, or they have to go out of town, for example, or, maybe they're even backing off a little bit from their efforts after you're kind of, you're kind of stonewalling them to a certain extent. It's something where like a breakthrough happens, and you almost, this defensiveness, they find that key to your heart, and you really open up, and it's something that it's able to blossom and bloom into a very fulfilling partnership for the two of you. It's something that, is very unexpected. It's very sweet. It's very endearing. And in a certain manner, kind of in a long-term sense, that this whole encounter, this interaction with this person, this whole process and what happens in some way, regardless of if this is like a forever person or just somebody that you date, or it's like a big romance for a period, like a chapter of time, it's something which really helps you to almost learn the mechanism of honoring your discernment, but also creating this balance in learning to trust again. Like this person helps to maybe crack open a defensiveness within you as you had been kind of healing from some things. You've been very guarded, very discerning. This person helps you to open up to the possibility of love and romance again after what might have been kind of a closed off period. You'd been focusing on your abundance. You'd been focusing on work, on finances, on kind of creating and maintaining healthy boundaries for yourself, discernment. And this is almost that next step into, armed with those kind of skills and abilities, taking that out into the world of interfacing, interacting with other people. This idea of that you've almost been kind of closed away, locked away in this kind of healing mode for long enough, and that this person really helps to kind of bring you out into this place where, because of what happens with them, it's not like everything will be a positive experience with them. Again, there's a lot of kind of tension and guardedness. Every relationship has its ups and downs, but overall this feels to be something that you feel really good after the result of this. You feel good for having taken a chance with this person, regardless of kind of how that plays out in the long term. And it helps you in moving forward toward, other kind of situations in love and in the future, and being willing to kind of trust yourself, trust your ability to kind of rely on your intuition, decipher between red flags and red herrings, and trusting that not everybody that you encounter and meet will be kind of the exact copy of maybe situations that didn't work out so well or were a bit kind of deceptive or duplicitous that you had dealt with in your past. And I'm also noticing here on this sudden wealth, it's the number 777. So that might be an angel number that is significant. You might start seeing that a lot as kind of a clue or a hint that this person is on the horizon. And also with these three cards, we've got card 27, which adds up to 9, 33, which if you multiply 3 and 3, that's 9, and then we've got card number 9. So 999 might also be significant. And we've got another 9 right here with the 9 of Wands. So 999, 9999, any of those kind of angel numbers, a repeating series of numbers. This could be something that really is kind of a clue or an indicator that this person is near. Maybe you start seeing these things, or they have some kind of relation to this individual. This can be something as well with this idea of kind of gambling. The city of Las Vegas, Nevada, or even Reno might be significant for some of you. That may be where you meet this person, where they work, where they live, you work, you live. Casinos can be significant. So maybe somebody works in a casino and the other person comes in is like a gambler, for example. This can be something where, again, it's like it's taking a gamble, it's taking a risk on this situation. That it really requires you to step outside of your comfort zone, but it's something that really pays off. Obviously, next big romance. So this isn't a reading looking into your next romantic disappointment. This is big romance in terms of, something that will have a positive impact upon you. And again, it feels like something that really you sort of look at this situation and what is experienced and created with this person, no matter how short or long term it is. It's a very, you're very happy that you took this chance, that you took this sort of leap of faith. With this card here, with this 3 of Pentacles, and this illustration almost depicts a sculptor. So this may be somebody who is an artist. They work with their hands. Maybe they are a sculptor, or they do something that is just very kind of creative, or they almost like render raw materials into something. So carpentry may be significant. This can even just be something that they do as like a hobby on the side, kind of an after hours gig that they have, or maybe just something that they do in their spare time. Let's see here, with all this Wands energy as well, this feels like a very charismatic person, and I'm almost hearing someone with like a loud booming voice. So they may have a very kind of strong and dominant personality. That could be a bit overwhelming as well. It's bringing forth the idea of somebody with like a very loud laugh, like when they are, without meaning to, kind of like their voice, their laugh, people around them and kind of like the room around them will turn and look. They have a very commanding presence. This may be somebody who is very tall and kind of broad shouldered, like just a big person, just a big personality, a big presence. They definitely are somebody who turns heads in a lot of different ways. They may be very attractive, or it's just something about this charisma that they seem to just kind of ooze out of them that really kind of captures attention. This is somebody who may or may not resonate as a light worker, but there's definitely something about them where this kind of very almost like fiery and confident personality, it's something which really helps to shift the mood and the atmosphere of whatever room that they enter. This is someone that even in the most somber of circumstances can get everybody laughing. This is somebody with whom laughter is a medicine. So they may tell a lot of jokes. Some of that might also be kind of like with that sort of lost in translation. It may be kind of hard to understand their sense of humor at times, or somebody who just, maybe likes to kind of deflect conflict or tension with humor. And so you might be wondering, like, why are they always, trying to make light of things? Why are they always trying to, tell these jokes, maybe even like corny jokes, for example, something that almost like when they get nervous, that's what they lean into. Somebody who doesn't even have a problem laughing at themselves, which may kind of come across as sort of like fishing for pity in some manner. But as you kind of get to know them, you realize this is just their way of kind of trying to transmute, and it feels like very effectively transmuting heavy, dense, or kind of dark or disappointing energies that they have experienced or that are around them. This may be somebody who also works outdoors or spends a lot of time outdoors. This may be somebody who is into kind of like organic farming. They may have a garden. They may grow their own herbs or fruits and vegetables. They may have property or spend a lot of time out in nature as part of their, kind of their point of decompression. This is almost bringing to mind the idea of somebody who works in like a city center, but then on the weekends they're out, they're going for hikes, they're camping, they're fishing, they're spending a lot of time outdoors. Physical fitness may also be something very significant to this person, but it almost feels like something where you're not going to find them in a gym. You're going to find them out doing things, very active. Rowing might be something that could be significant to them. And it's almost, I'm hearing athlete. So this could have been somebody who maybe is currently training to be an Olympian or some kind of professional athlete, or they had done this when they were younger. Maybe they were in the Olympics at one point in time. They may have been an athlete, currently an athlete. Maybe it's something with physical therapy. Maybe you're a physical therapist and that's how you meet this person as they come in for kind of help with some sort of an injury, some kind of a problem, maybe even something like an old injury that they've just been dealing with, kind of suffering through for a period of time, and kind of looking for solutions, outside of the box solutions. And I'm also hearing workers' comp. So maybe that's something where you work with that, and that's kind of how you meet this person, how you are introduced to this person, is some kind of a claim that they have made, some kind of assistance that they are trying to get with something that happened to them on the job. So let's see here. And they may have dark hair as well, but I'll dig more into these physical attributes and see anything else that really comes through. I want to get a few of these Zodiac cards just to get a little more of an idea about when this person might come in. It feels like for a lot of you, you may already sort of be aware of this person, or kind of in the near future, sort of one of those introductory stages where they reach out may occur. But it's something, again, it's going to take a while for you to really open up to them, to this idea of like taking things a step further. But they'll be very persistent in that, kind of waiting, circling back around, trying different approaches with you. So we have Sun in Taurus, practicalities, boost self-worth and finances. Sun in Capricorn, status, work diligently towards your goals. And Moon in Sagittarius, discovery, freedom, and adventure. So that idea of Sagittarius is really bringing to mind travel, distance, somebody who, again, this very fiery temperament, personality. These two earth signs here can confirm that kind of work connection in some way. Either you work for the same company or they kind of interact with you due to your work. You interact with them due to their work. These signs can also be somewhere significant in their chart. So a Taurus, a Capricorn, or a Sagittarius, those placements can be in any of sort of the major positions. And this is a timeless reading. So whenever you come across this reading, just take the messages as they resonate. But with this idea of Sagittarius and Capricorn, at the time that I'm recording this, we have just entered Pisces season in 2023. So this might have been somebody that you met kind of at the end of the last year or the beginning of this year. So again, they may have just kind of freshly come into your world. They're starting to make that move towards you. Or this can be something as well with this idea of Taurus, which is a couple months from now, the beginning of Taurus season. As I said, we just now have entered Pisces season, then we've got Aries, next is Taurus. So this is either someone who's just kind of recently sort of come on your radar, or who may very quickly kind of come into your awareness, but this isn't going to be like, oh, there they are, and then the romance begins. There's definitely that period of being a little bit guarded, being a little bit skeptical, needing to vet this person out, where that's part of this buildup here is their persistence, their consistency, earning and building that trust with you through kind of honoring those boundaries that you have in place, and being very patient with how they are tending this seed of attraction that they have to you. So I'm going to get some of these attribute cards, and there's a little bit of everything in here. There's physical characteristics, personality traits, there's more zodiac signs, so we'll just see what comes through. We've got Kundalini awakening, so that really ties in with all that fiery energy, a very passionate person, a very attractive person, a lot of chemistry between the two of you, to where you might even be kind of trying to put these brakes on extremely, like because of the nature of how you are meeting them, how you're interacting with them. Almost a sense of, I can't go down this road, this is inappropriate, what am I doing, what am I thinking, what can this possibly turn into? And yet there's this very visceral draw towards one another, despite this almost like protest or objection. And we also have social activist, so somebody who may be really into politics, into kind of local or national sort of community events, somebody who is, very well versed kind of in what's going on. That might be a little bit about sort of what they try to lean the connection into the conversation is kind of like world events, current events, kind of social issues of the day. They may be very passionate in that regard. They may work in kind of like a grassroots community organization, so maybe it's even through that is how you meet this person, but you're both there for a very different purpose, and almost like this spark or this chemistry that is really sensed, that it's you're trying to really just keep your mind and your focus on whatever that kind of issue or cause is that you're working toward, maybe something to do with politics, for example. This person may even be running for politics, and you're like volunteering, or you're working on their campaign, or in some way like involved with that. So there's this idea of like, we have these other priorities. There's something else here. Maybe you're even the one who's running for office, running, for something in politics, and this person is, kind of like a campaign manager, for example, or some kind of a consultant or a lobbyist, or, somebody that you're dealing with in kind of like fundraisers or functions. You're seeing them in that capacity. There's also the possibility that both of you are in kind of like politics or social activism, but you're almost working for two competitors or two kind of like rivals almost, and running mates. And it's something to where, you're feeling is like, whoa, we can't go down this path. We're on two different sides of this fence, and there's other kind of goals to be reached and to be worked towards at this point in time. And so it's almost like that can really fit in with that scenario of like, until that election happens, until whatever that kind of goal that you're working toward, the signatures that are being gathered, whatever is being canvassed or trying to really be spread, kind of informing people. until that reaches its point of completion. You're almost like shutting this person down when they're trying to like get to know you more, take things to a personal level, maybe even kind of like asking you out with that Three of Pentacles. They may ask you out a few times and you just are like, no, it's not the right time. I'm busy. I'm not interested, kind of making excuses. I'm seeing somebody. I'm not ready to date, whatever it is. And they keep sort of pressing the issue with you. And we've also got the letter I. And we've got playful. So again, that idea of somebody who really uses humor to deflect tension, kind of a practical jokester too. We've got average height. So that can be kind of a contrast to this idea of a very tall person with kind of these broad shoulders. They may be just kind of very, average. Nothing really stands out about them substantially in kind of like their physical stature. But then there's something about, just this booming voice, this booming personality, a very commanding presence. And we have smile. So again, that idea of laughter, humor, joy, somebody who is really trying to make the world around them a better place. And we have green eyes as a physical attribute. Local. So this can be someone involved in like local community matters, local politics, for example. This can tie into somebody that you share a work connection with, or that lives, kind of in your same locality, but maybe is, coming to you for goods or services or vice versa. And we have grounded, so a very practical person that fits in with kind of this earth energy here with Capricorn and Taurus. The idea as well of somebody who, might be like a business owner, a professional. They're very good with their finances as well, with the idea of sudden wealth. They may be also in the process of kind of building or starting a business. So maybe you meet them if you work like for the city or the state or the government or something. And as far as like contracts or licensures, permits, things like that. And this person is like coming in and having to kind of deal with you in that capacity, or vice versa. You might be the one who's trying to get something off the ground, and this person is almost like you're having to go through them in some capacity to kind of go through those policies and procedures to make sure that everything comes into alignment. And we have sincere, so a very honest person, somebody who has very good intentions towards you, and again is really willing to wait patiently until you are comfortable enough with them that you will be willing to kind of open up to the idea of romance. And we have casual. So again, something that might start off as just kind of building, this aspect of friendship, common interests, talking about the weather, about, politics, local kind of issues. But there's a lot more than meets the eye to that. They definitely want to be more than friends with you. And this idea of casual as well may even tie into somebody who wears kind of like business casual attire, or even if they are like the head of some kind of company, maybe something that they do with e-commerce or investing, even like day trading, for example, where they're not having to like go into an office somewhere and get dressed up. They just kind of, it's like a work from home thing almost. So they're just in their casual attire while they're making money. And we have lawyer, so that can tie in with that idea of policies, procedures, paperwork, red tape, anything that you're, trying to do. Maybe you're the lawyer, maybe they're the lawyer. Something to do with kind of balance and equality as well. That ties in with social activist. And we have passionate, so whatever that is, that point of interest, it feels like everything that they really are involved in, they're very passionate about. This is that commanding presence, that very compelling energy that just sort of helps to shift and lift the mood of whatever room they are entering into. And we have heart chakra awakening. So that can tie in with this idea of key with the heart-shaped lock, that it takes some time to crack the code, to find that key to your heart. But once they do, once they are very successful in getting you to open up and let them in, it's something that's profoundly life-changing. Again, it's, this could be somebody that you're with long-term. This could be a forever person, or somebody that is just romantically in your life for a season. But whatever it is, they represent this kind of turning of the page for you. They shift the direction of how you sort of view love and partnerships. If you'd been through a series of disappointments, whatever you experience with this person, it helps you to really kind of believe in love again, or the ability to meet decent people, nice people, good people. We also have musician, so they may be some kind of a prodigy, musically inclined. Maybe they're inviting you out to a jam session or a concert, or you meet them in that capacity, like out somewhere with music involved. This can be somebody who's, always got headphones on, or often has headphones on, is humming to themselves. Maybe at some point in time they had a musical career when they were younger, for example. They may have made some money off of that and have since, invested that into other things. So at the point when you meet them, this is kind of almost like part of their backstory, for example. They may have been semi-famous at some point in time. We've also got the letter A. And also with that musician and letter, they may write you a love song, or just be somebody who's just making up little sing-songy kind of verses about things, which may come across as sort of corny at times, but is also kind of like charming and endearing. And we have mentor, so they definitely could be older than you, more experienced in something, or they're coming to you for your expertise, for you to act as kind of like a mentor or coach or a guide for them. And we have mysterious, so something about this person, maybe based on the nature of meeting them online, there's an air of mystery to that. This can even tie into somebody that has a bit of money saved up, and they don't present that way. They present as very kind of like humble. Maybe it is somebody that, had kind of a musical career at one point in time. They were semi-famous or were famous at one point, and they're trying to just kind of blend in, live an ordinary life, live a simple life. They're kind of closed about that. So as much as there's almost like this bold energy, this bold personality, there's a lot about this person that will remain a mystery until you almost let them into your heart, and then they will reveal so much more. Also got the letter J. Manifestation, so somebody who is really good at calling in and creating wealth and opportunities for themselves. This feels like, this idea of like patience and consistency to really manifest an opportunity with you, to get you to give them a chance to open up and let them in. And we have X. So this could be someone that perhaps reminds you of an ex-partner, or it's this idea of, based on the nature of how this person approaches, how you're meeting them, this may bring up a lot of triggers and reminders of other situations in the past. Maybe someone who catfished you online, or a series of people that it just fizzled out with in that capacity, and you're just like, I don't want to go down this road again. I don't want a repeat of what happened in the past. So it's quite a challenge that this individual has to kind of crack that code within you, but it's something where they feel very much up to the challenge. And the fact that that phrase cracking the code now is coming through twice, this person could definitely be like a computer programmer, work in the tech industry, for example. Maybe they've even started a tech company, developed some kind of an app that they kind of have royalties from, or residual income. They've sold that and made money, and so now they're kind of living a very different lifestyle, not having to go into the office every day. It's just kind of casual, easy living. And we also have picnic. So someone who may be, very romantic, want to kind of take you out on sort of unusual or sweet or very endearing dates. This isn't necessarily like a let's go to the movies or go bowling kind of person, although those can definitely be things that they invite you to go out and do. But again, someone who likes to spend a lot of time outdoors, a very romantic person. And that can even be part of that element of mystery and kind of that idea of a letter, like a love letter, like a secret admirer energy, that there's something about this person that is just, once you kind of scratch beneath the surface, it's something that's very romantic, it's very endearing, and again, that idea of picnic really ties into a shift that this situation represents from what you had experienced in love, and maybe like the last cycle that you just came out of. It helps you to open up to the idea of a different kind of love story, a different kind of person that you are calling into your experience. So regardless of if this is a long-term connection or something that just lasts a temporary period of time, it's something which really moves you into more of a sweet and optimistic energy within yourself in terms of what is possible for you in love in general. So I'm going to close this out with a few initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got Q, U, C, V, B, I, and J. And then I and J also came out here in the letters, so this person could have double initials for either of those as well. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And now through the end of the month of February, I'm running a sale in my Etsy shop. Everything's marked down 15%. So if you've had your eye on anything, now would be a good time to act upon that, as I don't often run sales. I've also launched a second channel here on YouTube. It's called Lady of the Dawn Tarot, and there's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format there is a little different from here. I do pick a cards as well as general energy check-ins, but the subject matters that I cover are related to spirituality, wellness, ascension, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the Unakite heart. So I'm going to start with some tarot and oracle cards to get kind of a general overview of who's coming in for your next big romance, characteristics and qualities about them that can help you to identify them, or kind of the situation around how you'll meet them, anything as far as timing is concerned. And then I've got some attribute cards that I will pull as well to get a little bit deeper into that, as well as some more about timing. Okay, so we have the Ace of Cups, the Lovers. Oh, and I'm sorry, with the energy of Cups, that's water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. The Lovers is Gemini. We also have the Magician, which is Gemini again. Temperance, which is Sagittarius. Nine of Cups, so more water energy. Death, which is Scorpio. Family Room. False Person. Clover, Key, and Scythe. So that Scythe is definitely reminding me of the Death card, so more confirmation of Scorpio energy. This could be somebody that perhaps you met them this last autumn, or it might even be as kind of far away as this coming autumn, which, depending on what part of the world you are in, maybe sooner or later. In the Northern Hemisphere where I live, we are just about into the season of spring. So for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, that means you're just about to enter the season of autumn. So for those of you in that part of the world, this could be somebody who is right up around the bend for you. For those in the Northern Hemisphere, they may be a little bit further out on the horizon. But that energy of Scorpio, that scorpionic energy, this can really tie into somebody who is a very much an unexpected, almost like a wild card that comes into your life, into your world, and changes some kind of a path or a plan or an idea you had as far as like your forever person. This can be the romance that changes everything, somebody who helps to really awaken your heart to the idea of love again. Maybe you've been in an extended period of being very single, just doing your own thing, working on, kind of building your confidence, repairing your heart after maybe a series of disappointments or heartbreaks, and that this person helps to really bring you out of kind of one stage of your romantic experience, one stage of your life out into kind of this light and this rebirth sort of energy. The two of you may have very similar backgrounds, very similar kind of experiences of a lot of trials and tribulations that you've been through, that you've needed to overcome, a process of rebirth that has been very much almost like parallel paths for the two of you. So a lot in common in that sense, this idea of like a regenerative energy. So again, it might be kind of like a different story, different kind of series of experiences, but it feels like you both have been through some very difficult and tough times, a lot of adversity, a lot of odds that were stacked against you. And it's almost this energy of perseverance, of rebirthing yourselves that is a connective point between you. So you may meet this person through some shared spiritual community. This can definitely be somebody who is spiritually awakened, who is on an ascension path, who is very committed and has successfully, at the point when you met them, worked through and cut away from a lot of toxicity and cycles within their life. This feels like somebody who has been actively doing shadow work, who knows themselves very well, who has reached some kind of level of self-mastery, or again, has cut themselves away from something very significant that was draining. This can have to do with, like with the idea of temperance, this can be like addictions, for example. So this can be somebody who is clean and sober. You two may have that in common, for example. And it wouldn't be like fresh sobriety. This is almost like you both have some time beneath your belt in that sense. You're very familiar with that. You've really almost like the backstory of who the two of you were in sort of your previous life, or your previous version of yourself is very different from the way your priorities and your life is now. Definitely a story of triumph for the two of you that may be a bonding experience. It may be some kind of shared community like that, recovery community, for example, that the two of you meet through, or you at least speak that language to one another. You really understand that sort of that process and kind of that everything that is involved with that act of kind of surrender, crumbling and rebirth, to where you have almost like a deeper understanding of maybe elements of both of your backstory that is not so readily apparent to other people that you meet. It's very hard to find people that identify with that or are on some kind of shared path in that sense. It's almost like, in a way, the two of you are kind of like outsiders on this journey toward wellness, as odd as that may sound, but it's you may not have met very many people or been very compatible or clicked with very many people that had kind of that that deep understanding through kind of like a comparable personal experience of needing to almost achieve a level of self-mastery and move beyond like personal limitations. So it might be something that's very unique. It's the idea, like with the clover, almost of like a 4-leaf clover. It feels very kind of like, of all the people that you've encountered, maybe even in other kind of shared communities, there's just this added element that the two of you have in common, where you really understand one another. You understand that backstory, that process, what you've been through, what you're going through, what you've achieved, and what that means. And it adds into kind of the aspect of romance, because you have this deep respect for kind of that personal history and that personal journey. You understand deeply through kind of a comparable struggle what it has taken each of you to reach this place of being very balanced and loving yourself in just the manner that you do, precisely because you at points in time had been operating in kind of the opposite of that, having moved out of kind of a shadowy energy into sort of this this place of reconciliation with self. This can also tie in with this magician to manifestation, law of attraction. So that can again tie into like a shared spiritual community with the two of you. It feels like something that you both are actively at this point in time manifesting one another into each other's lives. It doesn't feel for a lot of you that this is somebody that you have met yet. It feels like you're both almost in this kind of process of rebirth. And even for those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, where, you know, autumn's just around the corner, it's feeling more like just in a general sense to me, regardless of the season, that this person is maybe like 6 months out. This is not somebody who is in your world right now. This is not somebody who you've encountered at this point in time. It's almost like other aspects of your personal journeys are going to cause the two of you to intersect at like just the right time with one another, that you're still in this process of really learning to fill your own cups at this point in time with this Ace of Cups and then the Temperance card here. And it's through that process of self-love, of nurturing, of that, prioritizing that really calls this person in. It may be something as well with this idea of a false person, that there could be somebody on your horizon that turns out to almost be kind of like, it's a very dubious energy where it's kind of like you think that the spark's there, you think the connection's there, you have maybe like some of these components in common with one another. It feels like, okay, maybe this might be this person, this might be this next kind of opportunity in romance, but it's almost like it's kind of like just a ruse or a distraction from spirit, that is almost representative of this crossroads point that you find yourself at in your life. Almost like, are you going to kind of fall back into and repeat old patterns, maybe something that looks very appealing, very promising, has kind of all the makings maybe of a soulmate connection on the surface, and may in fact be a soulmate connection, but that there's a lot of karma attached to it. So somebody that you may have to kind of meet and deal with for what feels like a temporary period of time, almost to like make sure that you're ready for this next very compatible, very like next level romance. So for some of you, it's also going to be this challenge where it's like you're dealing with kind of this false person, this like karmic energy right here. This is also sort of like a test from the universe, like going through this experience, going down this road, maybe feeling like this is a person I'm safe to open up my heart with. Things go well, and then maybe they kind of dissolve or fall apart. There could be some kind of trickery or illusion involved as well with that idea of the magician, where maybe you're overlooking red flags within this person, you're projecting upon them in some kind of manner. A lot of these kind of hidden or residual kind of like wounds within self are just kind of animated or highlighted. It's like this person is the walking red flag, and it's sort of like this test or this challenge about, that you're getting ready to up level, that this big romance, this very positive and almost like the energy of rebirth is on the horizon for you, but that there's some kind of like a hurdle that needs to be crossed in some kind of manner. This can even relate to somebody that you were dealing with in the past, like an ex comes back, and they come back with a very sort of a great story to tell. Everything really looks good. It's the makings of like, well, maybe this time we could make things work. We could regenerate something in some manner. Someone who comes back with a kind of a love offer or trying to get their foot back in the door in some way, to where again you are faced with almost this like decision: go back in and repeat a cycle, or in some way lean back into the more predictable energies of what you'd experienced in the past, or put an end to that kind of cycle, that type of person, that sort of character in your story for good, and then make this leap forward to this other person, this very new kind of person, new from what you have dealt with, this very kind of genuine loving energy, a very balanced person within themselves, somebody who can, who knows how to fill their own cup, and therefore is able to bring you more emotional satisfaction, because they are a very almost like self-sustaining, self-aware person in that sense, that the two of you are in fact more compatible than like this other person that you had thought was maybe the end-all be-all, the counterpart, the twin flame, this deep soulmate connection, whether it's someone from the past or somebody else that kind of like turns up, that they've got this almost like illusion or mirage, or at first glance you sort of think, okay, this might have been the one that I was waiting for, but then something reveals itself to where it's almost like you get these clues and indications that there's something more out there. So like a crossroads period of time that really separates what might potentially be kind of like a limited or a disappointing experience in romance, that might be a little more coming in a little more sooner for you than this other person, but like a little further on the horizon is this very different experience. It's kind of like, if this question here in this reading is your next big romance, this almost feels like a twofold energy. Like there's this little experience, almost like, a long weekend kind of romance. It's something that's very temporary. It's very short-lived. It might be very disappointing. It may be very educational for you as far as kind of some residual sort of things you're needing to break away from, kind of this last kind of aspect of healing, or maybe something you've been working toward. Something to do even with kind of generational patterns, with the idea of family rooms, something that really like fits into that. It's something that's comfortable, it's known, it's familiar. It's a reemergence of your old patterns in the form of a different person that will be revealed to you as kind of like, okay, I know what this is. I've been down this road before. And that is that key step, identifying that, taking off that mask and that illusion of this person who may show up and they're telling you everything you want to hear. And it feels like, okay, this could be the one, but there's just something wrong. The two of you are not in alignment. There's something vibrationally off about the situation. It's almost like an incompatibility in terms of, goals, emotional needs. It's almost like one giving more to the other, a bit of like a runner-chaser dynamic, a little bit of kind of getting caught up in illusion or fantasy or projection in some manner, but it feels to be very short-lived before that kind of that stardust almost like wears off. You rub the sleep from your eyes and you almost see this person, this experience for what it is. That allows you to kind of close that door completely. Sort of like the universe saying, are you sure you're really done with this cycle, or do you want another go around? Do you need to really experience this lesson once again? And so at that kind of choice point where then you're able to sort of shut the door, it opens up your path to moving toward this other person, this big romance, this balanced connection, something that brings a lot of peace, something that brings a lot of satisfaction, something where there is this kind of compatible energy of really two people having, faced these very kind of similar or, it might not be like identical sort of patterns and sort of karmic trends, but it's this energy of two people who have in some way introspected enough to be able to identify their own wounds and who have made the choice to get off that merry-go-round, to not continue to repeat those patterns and cycles, that no matter sort of what package it shows up in, this is like, you and this other person, this big romance, having that equal level of discernment to when you are interacting with each other, you find each other, you meet each other on the other side of kind of like closing the door to the past, to a particular cycle, to a particular phase, to a particular almost like unconscious pattern that was drawing in the same sort of series of results. It enables the both of you to come towards one another more free, more open, more ready, more kind of self-aware and self-sustaining to be able to experience a type of a love and a romance with one another that really breathes life back in. It's a very empowering connection for the two of you. It's something where there's actual deep compatibility on an emotional level that might be very unusual. This can be something where it's almost like you can finally sort of give that sigh of relief. It's like a breath of fresh air almost. This connection, this big romance that is on the other side of almost like this detour, or this possible option to kind of like repeat some sort of pattern or cycle that you might be dealing with right now, or this individual may be kind of like right around the corner. They're just like, they're right in your energy. They're right here. This may even just be, if it's not in the form of like another person that you're dealing with, this is almost talking about like wrapping up kind of that last sort of layer or aspect of something that attached you to the past, something that you hadn't really recognized, that was almost like calling in a repeating series of disappointments, and maybe something stemming from inner childhood wounds, like this period of sort of breaking away, of shadow work that needs to be done, that is the key in and of itself to moving towards and opening yourself up to receive this very transformational love, something that is unlike what you have experienced in the past. There may be this aspect too, because this big love is so unlike what you've known in the past, that you may almost pass this person by in some manner, because it's just not even like they feel too good to be true, but it's just what they have to offer you. It feels so unlike what others before have demonstrated as far as love. What they bring to the table is so unlike what you are accustomed to experiencing, that it's almost like you're not maybe used to people that are coming towards you in love with the interest of truly reciprocating, that aren't just there for their own needs and kind of like self-fulfillment. You aren't used to a balanced connection. You aren't used to two people, each filling their own cup and then kind of their own sort of volition with nothing to gain and everything to give, like the idea of two empaths being together. You're not used to that. You may be really used to this empath narcissistic vibe or kind of dynamic with people, and there's something available for you that is almost like you're birds of a feather. This person is your kind. They are, very similarly sensitive on an emotional level. They may be deeply psychic, deeply empathic. This is almost like both of you at one point, or currently maybe sort of in this wounded healer archetype, but you're moving into almost this very empowered stance where you're both kind of disconnecting from this process of healing or of closing out some cycles and almost graduating to a new embodiment of full and authentic and balanced love of self, which enables you to almost match and meet each other vibrationally, but it's something to where it may feel very foreign, very alien, very unusual, because it's unlike the love you have ever experienced up to this point in time. This person, it may be very surprising how this person is open about their feelings, how they hold space for you to express yours, how this person is sensitive, is caring, is empathic. This feels to be somebody that, is very secure in themselves, very secure with where they have been in their life, the trials and tribulations that has brought them to this point. They may be somebody who even kind of mentors or coaches people, in some way uses their personal story of struggle to help empower others, to help heal others. This person has a very healing vibration. This is somebody who, again, is not just going to be a taker, is not just going to drain and deplete, but is really going to believe in and practice reciprocity. You may be very unused to or unaccustomed to people who follow through on the promises they make with very concise action. And this feels like somebody who is very capable of doing that. They're very capable of self-sustaining their own kind of emotional needs. They're very much an adept at that, both their strengths and their deficits, and have made accommodations for that, to where this is almost like a situation where it's two very independent people that have the ability to come together and create something very new in terms of like a love story, a type of love connection, to where it may almost kind of catch the two of you by surprise that this situation actually has the potential to turn into something very beautiful. So you may be in kind of like a shared community, a shared sort of line of work in some manner. The healthcare profession is coming up, and it's something where it's almost like maybe the two of you are even kind of like colleagues, or you start working with one another, perhaps even at points where you're still sort of dealing with the residue of kind of these karmic situations. This may be something where the two of you are almost like confidants or friends to one another, but it takes this period of time, like you don't immediately recognize or see that the ingredients and the makings are there between the two of you for the type of romance you've been trying to experience but have been very unsuccessful in accomplishing or achieving or calling in these other circumstances. So it almost takes like a disappointment, not as like you're rebounding to this person, but almost like, the final straw, sort of enough is enough. You close out this cycle, and it almost gives you both the eyes to perceive that what you've been looking for in love is kind of, it's indwelled in this other person, in this other kind of dynamic. And it doesn't even feel like the nature of what they do for a living. It's not like, opposites attract in that sense. It's something about just the qualities that this person holds, to where it's like you both may have kind of just friend zoned each other, and then you come to this point in your own sort of like healing journey where you recognize that this is a possibility to have a romance with one another, not based on someone who can fill the other person's needs, but again, it's like the idea of two givers coming together in that mutual kind of energy of being very self-sustaining, and truly enjoying one another's company, truly being able to like exchange with one another on a deep and fulfilling level. This is someone who's very comfortable with who they are. They may have had some kind of like body image issues at one point in time, a lot of things regarding self-esteem that they may have needed to work through that could have to do even with their own kind of personal history and backstory. But in some way they have come to this place where they are really at peace with that. They've come to terms with kind of their personal history, their journey, what has been required to sort of reach this point that they are at right now. This may have been somebody who struggled with like emotional issues, again, things as far as addiction, maybe even like mental health issues, but they've come to a place of like balance with that. They've come to a place of peace. They have found a recipe for success. It feels like wellness in kind of in a total package. This could be somebody who, with the idea of clover and kind of these associations with luck that often comes with that, this can be somebody who had kind of like a very, almost something that happened that was kind of tragic in their past, or something that where they were in kind of a position of peril. It's almost like they're lucky to be alive, and they do appreciate that. They've gotten almost like a new lease on life. So something that may have happened as far as a very harrowing experience for them, or even just kind of like a lifestyle or a backstory. It's almost like somebody who a lot of people would not have survived what they have been through, and they are this kind of living embodiment of the triumph of the human spirit. And it's something that they feel very humble about this. This is not someone who's kind of like bragging about that, but in some way they do utilize their personal story and their personal experience may have sort of shifted them onto a different path where they are trying to heal, they're trying to help, they are trying to give back to others, to inform and educate others. This can be somebody who does a lot of philanthropic work, a lot of volunteer work, somebody who works with people on an emotional level. So even like with this couch here, this could be like a counselor or a therapist, somebody who even is just, again, like an empath, like a shoulder to cry on, and it has taken some time to reach this level of self-mastery within themselves, of not kind of like giving to the point of emotional depletion, but to really maintain like healthy boundaries, to create equilibrium for themselves, to be able to fill their cup adequately and consistently, so that they are able to help to sort of fill the cups of others in a more abundant manner. This idea with family room, this can be somebody who you meet through family. This can almost be like a blind date, for example, with this kind of air of mystery here on this false person card. Kind of the other element of this can talk about a secret admirer. So this can be like a friend or a colleague of a family member, or a friend who's very close that feels like family, who has heard about you, has maybe seen photographs of you, has become aware of you in some capacity, and has felt very drawn to you, maybe has kind of heard about a process you've been through, some trials and tribulations that you've been through. They may have known about you for some period of time, but then it takes time to kind of like personal sort of hurdles and thresholds that you're needing to cross in order for kind of an opening to happen for this person to enter into your world, to sort of make their way closer. It's like they could have almost known of you from a distance. So you may be in very similar lines of work, or something you do like with a shared community community where, maybe you two both have like a social media presence, some kind of platform, something that you do. And so they're aware of you by name. They've seen your work, they've seen your material, and vice versa. You may be aware of them. You've seen their work, you've seen their material, you've heard about each other. But it's almost like at a distance from one another for a period of time before you, almost like it coincides that you come together and that you sort of meet with one another face to face. This idea here with this dove in the background of this Ace of Cups holding like this little communion wafer. Catholicism may be something, maybe you both came from like a Catholic background or like a Christian background, some sort of like even a strict religious background. And it's something where, maybe you have either leaned upon that, your religion or your spirituality has really helped you through some personal darkness, helping to really triumph. This could have been something that was almost the relationship with the divine or with spirit, whether this is religious or even of a spiritual connotation. It feels like you both have that you're compatible in that sense, a deep kind of like core philosophy or a spiritual basis, even if it's different religions or different kind of spiritual practices. It's something where you both have a very strong connection to and appreciation and almost like ongoing conversation and dealings with the divine, with spirit, with source, with God, with goddess, with whatever it is that you resonate with. This is at the forefront of both of your worlds, of both of your realities. It's either part of what you each do for a living. Maybe it's something that you invest a lot of time in as far as giving back to people, helping, mentoring, ministering to people, or it's something that's, again, it's part of you both like credit sort of where you are at right now is through the companionship and almost the loving guidance of the divine to lead you both through these very kind of dark periods of trials and tribulations to come out into this space of the light. This Lover's card here is really bringing to mind this idea of somebody who may have, they may be divorced and you may be divorced as well. So this could be something where, you have this very kind of similar backstory of maybe like a toxic marriage, a toxic pattern, like a series of toxic relationships, something that was very difficult to extract yourselves from, or something that took a great toll upon your like physical well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being, where you've really had to like pick the pieces up from that, come to a place of peace with what has happened in some manner. Somebody that like, is very almost like cruel or calculating or callous or, just any kind of, expand upon that as you will, kind of almost like the worst of the worst is what each of you has been through once, maybe twice, maybe like a series of things, to where you really are prioritizing your own kind of like well-being. It's taken a lot to kind of rebuild the self-esteem, work toward that self-love, to where, again, this big love, this big romance, it's so different from your romantic history that it's almost like you both have been so focused on that energy of wellness and self-love that you almost didn't realize that it was possible to experience that vibration of wellness in a partnership with others. It's almost like you're not out seeking for love. You're not out seeking for romance. Your priorities are really devoted to other things and kind of developing that self-love, developing your relationship with spirit, to where it almost comes in and is recognized when it's finally noticed as almost like this kind of this blessing from on high, that it's almost like the reward that you each have been sort of working toward, that this is, were it not for like these difficulties and the steps that you've taken and kind of the involvement of spirit and the divine in this process of kind of rebirthing yourselves, then you wouldn't have had the capacity to be able to perceive or appreciate one another on as deep as a level as you have. So this feels to definitely be something that could have the makings of like a forever partnership here. It feels almost like this is the person that you've been looking for. This is someone that you can, continue to kind of grow with, grow old with. This is that, the idea even of like Phoenix from the ashes with these two kind of references to the scorpionic energy. It's like birds of a feather. You two are kind of cut from the same cloth. You've both been shaped by life and by the hand of the divine into very kind of like similar individuals. You may have some kind of shared purpose, work, or mission in this lifetime. You may both resonate as light workers. And it's almost like the struggles that you're needing to go through, perhaps even this last sort of layer of shadow work or an encounter or somebody that comes back, like the idea of an ex coming back, or kind of like a new person who pops up that is just an embodiment of like this cycle or this phase that you've been really working to close out. On the other side of all of that is almost this like this energy of kind of like paradise. And it's not like this connection with this person is going to be without its, challenges. All relationships have that. But what's coming through for the purposes of this reading is, again, this point of contrast that really seeks to illustrate this person, this big love, this big romance that's coming in. It is so different from what you've known in the past that in some way you might almost pass that by in some manner. You might not and it feels very mutual. The two of you at first are not necessarily going to equate that you have this ability to have like a romance with one another. It almost feels like there's a lot of mutual respect for one another. And then it's kind of surprising, like, oh, and we can have romance with each other too. We're at that place of readiness and being healed enough. Truly somebody else exists on this level that is compatible enough, that is kind of like, filling their own cup, self-sustaining as the yin to their own yang. And what one has been working to do, the other has also been working to do, and you're kind of coming together at a point when it's almost like in this energy of kind of surrender, not looking for that romance, that the two of you find one another. So these are very big energies. These are very, it feels to be a very healed and balanced connection that is coming in for you, something that has a lot of the makings of long-term potential, and is kind of like the reward. It exists on the other side of kind of the trials and tribulations, the struggles, the confusion, the complication, all the tangles. Even these cards right here, there's so much like detail and colors and nuance compared to over here where it's easier. It just kind of flows. It's less complicated. And it feels like just a seamless connection with this individual. You mesh well on so many levels with one another that it doesn't carry all of that like heaviness and triggering of what you may have been used to in love up to this point in time. So again, kind of like they may be somewhat near on the horizon, but it definitely feels like something that most kind of generally, this would be somebody who's kind of like 6 months out, but there may be this other element of what needs to be cleared away to kind of make space for this person to enter. Or somebody else that may almost kind of like derail you, like a detour for a period of time, a very kind of like short-lived period of time, but something that is necessary for you to kind of like close the door to something, which then sort of fast tracks you to interacting with this person. And in terms of like physical characteristics, it's jumping out to me, this person may have like red hair or auburn hair, so they may be a ginger. That may go along with like really fair skin and freckles. So I'm going to dig into some attributes and try to get a little bit more as far as physical characteristics. But before I do that, I want to start with I want to get some of these Zodiac cards to see, maybe some more clues as far as timing about when this person might come into your world, into your experience. Okay, so we have Sun in Pisces, higher purpose, align yourself with love and wisdom. Sun in Sagittarius, adventure, stride out into new territory. And Moon in Taurus, self-esteem, personal growth. So just even kind of the language on these cards here, this really speaks to, this idea of like a very spiritually based connection. So kind of like a shared spiritual community, this fiery energy of the sun in Sagittarius really, again, is that like rebirth, that growth, a lot of vitality here, something that really helps you to kind of set out on a new course, forge a new path in terms of love and romance. This person is an adventure because they're so different from what you are used to experiencing in love up to this point in time. And this is a timeless reading, so whenever you come across these messages and they resonate, please take them accordingly. But we just entered into Pisces season, so this can talk about somebody. It almost feels like with this sun in Pisces. Now, Pisces, Sagittarius, or Taurus may factor into this person's natal chart somewhere. But it almost feels like this idea of like in this card, how it says, align yourself with love and wisdom and your higher purpose. That's something that is taking place like in the next 30 days, some kind of cycle that you're in the process of wrapping up, maybe some kind of shadow work, or even, this kind of detour sort of person who may be coming back from the past, somebody that you're dealing with, somebody you're wrapping things up with. That this kind of like real-time moment is very crucial, and what takes place even into like Taurus season, which is coming in like 2 months, that this sort of window of opportunity pivots you forth to like carving out a new road that brings you into alignment with this individual. The idea with Sun in Sagittarius, Sagittarius kind of comes right at the end of it comes like right at the end of autumn. So, following Scorpio, that autumn energy that was coming through. So that would kind of make sense that what is sort of coming in now, what you are engaged in now at this point in time really is kind of that, shutting of the curtains, shutting the door to like, so that's new openings, so that a new kind of perception within yourself, things that are done very internally. So again, this idea of like higher purpose, personal growth, this may not involve like an ex coming back around, or even like, a physical detour kind of person coming in to sort of tempt you to settle for less than you deserve. This can really just relate to kind of wrapping up some, maybe sort of trust issues that you have, some residual wounds, things that are really surfacing, things to do with like inner child wounds, family legacy, exes that you were dealing with in your past. If some of you are divorced, kind of like dealing with that, the aftermath of anything long-term or disappointing that sort of fell apart. That you're in this process right now of kind of wrapping up some things, coming out of a cycle of needing to move away from what no longer serves, coming into alignment with this healed and whole version of yourselves, so that you are then able to take those action steps, walk forward to the place, not just within yourself, but in the kind of material physical world in terms of who you're interacting with, who you're calling in, who you are exchanging time and energy with, that then becomes the embodiment of this person like 6 months down the road. 6 to 9 months down the road is really what's coming through with this. So they're a little bit distant on the horizon for you, it feels like, but it's a necessary period of time with these pearls here on this Moon in Taurus card. It's like some wisdom is still needing to be crystallized. Some chapters are still needing to be closed out. You're in kind of the end of a phase right now that is whatever is clearing out, whatever is kind of needing to be sort of encountered and neutralized at this point in time. It's all really setting that stage for you to be able to kind of be at the space within yourself to receive this very different, like an adventure in a very kind of positive and exciting way with this person. This is a romance. This is a person unlike what you have been accustomed to dealing with, perhaps in romance, perhaps just in general. This can even talk about like up leveling in general, to where it's like new soul family that you're calling in, new community that you're calling in, a new landscape. For some of you, this can coincide with like a physical move as well, to where you're relocating, you're changing and shifting a lot about your life, and it brings you into alignment with this individual who's like, they dwell on a future timeline of yours. So sort of the wait, there is no almost like a waiting period. It's you're actively taking steps in their direction. A lot of that may be sort of like this internal work though, that the two of you, with both of these kind of cards of like internal growth, it feels like the two of you sort of in this in this process currently of kind of wrapping up some cycles and things within that bring you both to that intersection point. You're both actively moving towards one another. You're both like on this kind of next layer of a timeline, and kind of doing what it takes to sort of jump over onto that, to come out of maybe some of this shadowy sort of dormant energy, into more of a place of personal empowerment, which is where you will find one another. So I'm going to get some attributes, and there's a little bit of everything in here. There's some physical characteristics, personality traits, some more zodiac signs. We'll just see what comes through. And we've got ascension. So yeah, definitely somebody who's very spiritual, spiritually awakened, on some kind of an ascension path, ascension journey. They may be coming out of some kind of a period of rebirthing, some kind of dark night of the soul. They're up leveling. They're going to be able to be compatible with you. They're going to be very familiar with these topics, or on board with that, excited, open to learn about these things in some way. Where they are at in their life when you meet them is so different from where they were at, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. A lot of that is going to be a very much a shared backstory, a lot where you can really understand one another, you can relate to one another on that level. You get where you are each coming from, and you have a deep appreciation for the struggle that it has been to kind of reach the place that you are at, when you meet one another. And this idea of ascension can also really speak to this next big romance coming in for you, is something which has a lot of long-term potential to it. And we have muscular as a physical body type. This can also really, though, tie into like the psychic senses, kind of building up that psychic stamina, that spiritual strength. Someone who's really learning to trust in their discernment, in their intuition, in their third eye. They may be prioritizing health and wellness, getting their physical body into shape, into order. Somebody who prioritizes that, eats well, lives a clean lifestyle, is very active, spends a lot of time outdoors, maybe even in the gym. You might meet them at like something to do with weight training at a gym, maybe yoga, meditation even. And we have travel. So that is really embodied here in this idea of Sagittarius, and adventure. So somebody who may be kind of on a pilgrimage right now, or they have done this at some point in time. They've kind of traveled around looking for answers, looking for healing and wellness within themselves. A very curious person, someone who likes to learn a lot, somebody who likes to experience a lot, a very worldly person. They may travel for work, or somebody who works hard and likes to sort of spend their off time exploring the world, taking in different cultures, immersing themselves in different cultures. They may have been an exchange student as well, spent some time abroad, maybe in between kind of school and starting a career as well. And we have morning person. So this feels like someone who maybe is up with the sun, meditating with the sunrise, going out for a run in the morning or a walk before they start their day. An early riser. This can be somebody who it also feels like for some of you, this might be somebody who maybe does something where they telecommute, but they're working with people in time zones where there's some kind of a time difference. So their day may start very early in order to kind of coincide with, a part of the world where the hours are a little bit different. So while it's like the wee morning hours where they live, it's actually the beginning of business hours elsewhere. So they might have kind of an unusual schedule. So someone who, goes to bed early as a kind of a result of that to be able to get up with the sun. And I'm hearing early bird catches the worm. So this may be somebody as well that just has that kind of personal philosophy, a certain routine that they like to really carry out before they begin their day. And we have automobile. So they may be a mechanic, again, somebody who travels for work, they commute. They may spend a lot of time kind of going for drives, or they have somewhere that they go, like on the weekends, for example, that is outside of almost like a city center where they normally live. They may collect cars. They may at one point in time have raced cars or are into that even currently. And we have curly hair as a physical attribute. Oh, and with automobile, they may also be like a car salesman or a saleswoman, salesperson. They maybe work in finance, something to do with banking also, or even the credit industry. And we have green eyes as a physical attribute. Books. So that can tie in with that energy of kind of like the student of the world, the student of life, a beginner's mind, someone who's very curious, someone who may read a lot, listen to a lot of books on tape as well as coming through, somebody who may kind of only really read like spiritual materials in some manner. They may be writing a book, writing a memoir. Their life may be such kind of an adventure or such a story of intrigue, kind of their backstory, their personal story, that people have really encouraged them to write about that. So they may be in the process of doing that, or they have just done that. Like when you meet them, this may be how you encounter them. Maybe you are also writing a book, writing about your life story, and that can tie into the idea of someone who is familiar with you, is familiar with your work, and vice versa. And you kind of may know of each other just by name and kind of from a distance before you meet and interact with one another. And we also have heavy set. So this can be a body type, or it can tie even in with the idea of muscular, someone who's gone through like a health and fitness transformation, somebody who may have had some kind of a health scare that really opened their eyes to the necessity of sort of taking care of themselves, better care of their health and well-being. And we have talkative. So with this, I'm hearing talk show. So this person may have like a podcast, some kind of social media presence or public presence, maybe something to do with books. They're on like a book tour, or they're a motivational speaker. They like to really talk and share about their personal journey and their personal struggles to help uplift people. They may do something with like spirituality in terms of mentorship, some kind of ministry, something where they are really sharing of their gifts, of their insight, their psychic abilities, this deep level of empathy. It can be something as well where they help to really put people at ease. They are trying to be a way shower to others through their own kind of personal darkness. Talk therapy is also coming through as something that they may do professionally, or something that has really been very crucial for them on their personal journey to empowerment and wellness. And it also feels like somebody that they aren't going to be very secretive about their past and what they've been through. It's like they have found this place of strength in the obstacles that they have overcome, and they utilize that to their advantage. Their struggles have become their armor. It has become their strength. What they have been through, the odds that they have faced, what they have overcome. This is something that they are not shy about talking about. They've reached a place of balance within where they're able to kind of touch on the sort of more negative chapters of their life experience, their personal journey, what they've been through. Through sharing that with others, it feels to be something that's like an inspiration. It helps to really give perspective. It's something which also, in that kind of course of talking, it's what they present as currently. Like when you meet them, it's so different from who they were before. And it's something where, the more you get to talk with them, you're going to see kind of those similarities, even if it's, a different kind of series of circumstances, where it's again this idea of like triumph and redefinition, almost like this glow up energy, or like this person has really given their whole life, and at the soul level they've given themselves a makeover. And we have gray hair, so they may be prematurely graying, kind of like a silver fox. Maybe this is somebody who's a bit older. And we have reserved, so a very contemplative person, a very methodical person, somebody who meditates, somebody who reserves judgment, is very open-minded, is very easy to talk to, a very good listener. And we have well-dressed. So they may work in the corporate world, somebody who is very particular about their experience, very meticulous, very well-groomed. Even if they're not running around in designer labels, they look very, very put together at all times. They take care with their appearance. Got the letter I. Fastidious. So yeah, that ties in with the idea of well-dressed. They take note of how they look. This is someone who's very well-groomed. They may live kind of a minimalist lifestyle. They may practice feng shui. They've kind of decluttered their life, kind of minimal possessions. They're more interested in sort of spiritual wealth and the acquisition of experiences. Somebody who's very clean and tidy, maybe even a little bit kind of obsessive about that. They may have a very particular kind of routine with that idea of the morning person, where they're getting up and they're doing their chores and they're making sure things are in order to be able to kind of feel good about starting their day. And we have spiritual awakening. So yeah, that ties in with the idea of ascension. Somebody who is definitely on a spiritual path. Somebody who has cultivated quite a relationship with their higher self and with the divine, with source. They may really credit that as being the rock upon which they were able to rebuild their life, or to even know to make changes to their life after a series of maybe kind of moving through some sort of toxic patterns or difficulties in their past. And we have lake. So they may live near a lake, spend time fishing and camping. And we have weddings. So this can definitely tie into that idea of this may be your forever person. Not just a big romance, but like the romance, to end all romances, your forever person. You may also meet them at a wedding. That idea of like spirituality and ministering, they may be a minister, they may, marry people, for example, or perform ceremonies, civil ceremonies as well. And that can tie into somebody who's been through like a divorce or a couple of divorces, something where, they needed to kind of break free from and heal some sort of patterns in their past. They've really taken the time to rebuild themselves in a new manner before kind of moving forth into the realm of romance again. And we've got the letter G. Mysterious. So that is that scorpionic energy right there. So someone who may be kind of watching you from afar, you know of them in name before you kind of meet them. It may be almost something where it feels very much like divine intervention that the two of you, and serendipity and synchronicity and all of that is the two of you really crossing each other's paths. There may be a lot as far as kind of these little signs and synchronicities that you get as well, that are these clues or indicators when you meet this person, or kind of when you're coming into the awareness of them, to where there's something more to this connection, like a deep soul connection, a larger sort of divine purpose for the two of you having been brought together in this lifetime. And we also have Kundalini awakening. So yeah, that ties in with spiritual awakening and ascension, a very passionate connection, something that really sparks and kind of breathes life back into the two of you, a very empowering connection, a lot of creative energy here. So the two of you may build something together, some kind of a legacy, something that you work towards, or this can even tie into two people who are very much in alignment on a particular spiritual path. So I'm going to close this out with some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of your person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got Y, P, I, B, T, D, R, C, J, and O. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And now through the end of the month of February, I'm running a sale in my Etsy shop. Everything's marked down 15%. So if you've had your eye on anything, now would be a good time to act upon that, as I don't often run sales. I've also launched a second channel here on YouTube. It's called Lady of the Dawn Tarot, and there's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format there is a little different from here. I do pick a cards as well as general energy check-ins, but the subject matters that I cover are related to spirituality, wellness, ascension, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 3. You chose the Obsidian heart. So I'm going to start with some tarot and oracle cards to get kind of into the general details or information about your next big romance, who's coming in, some characteristics about them that can help you identify them, or the circumstances surrounding this, anything that comes through as far as timing, and then I'll get into some attribute cards to dig a little bit deeper into that. Okay, so we have the Two of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. The Emperor, which is Aries. Nine of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Four of Cups, so more water energy. King of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. The Moon, which is Pisces and Cancer. Main male. Marriage. Tower. Heart. And Bear. So you definitely have a strong soulmate connection coming in for you as your next big romance. With the soulmate energy here of the Two of Cups, and then also this card of marriage. This can be a past life soul connection, somebody that you've shared many lifetimes with. There's going to be a sense of familiarity and knowing with this person. I'm hearing two peas in a pod. So this feels like somebody that you're going to really click with very quickly. The conversation between the two of you is going to flow very effortlessly with this King of Swords here. A lot of telepathy, a lot of this intuitive knowing with one another, this idea of like a deep empathic connection that you have. This can be somebody as well that if you consider yourself to be a divine feminine, this person with this main male and this emperor here, this is definitely somebody who is strongly in their divine masculine energy, which may for some of you, if you are resonating as a divine feminine and you've maybe had to kind of protect your heart, you've had to step into that sort of masculine energy within yourself in order to, accomplish some things, set some boundaries, really kind of advocate for yourself. It's been what's necessary, maybe dealing with a lot of people that kind of took advantage of your heart, took advantage of your kindness and generosity, to where you've almost had some kind of protective armor up as well with this idea of the wounded warrior and the Nine of Wands. It feels that this person comes into your world and they assume the role that you have been compelled to step into. So they make you feel very safe and very comfortable to kind of ease into more of that receptive energy, that feminine quality of energy where you're not so much on the defensive. This is definitely the energy here of a helpmate. So maybe this is somebody that turns into the forever person with that idea of marriage. This is that compatible partner. This is that person who can meet you at your level, who will fight for this connection, who will do what they need to do in order to protect this connection, to protect your integrity, to protect your heart. A very self-assured and confident person, but also somebody that, again, makes you feel so safe and seen to be vulnerable. They are able to earn your trust in a very, it feels like quick and yet substantial way, not like you're leaping forth without looking into the situation, but again, this very kind of organic, like the ease of flow in this situation, that you just naturally step into this place of feeling very safe with this person. They come across as a very trustworthy individual. Somebody who is just, they may put a lot of people at ease, or they're responsible for people's well-being. They may be somebody who kind of like runs a company, has a business, is a manager, is somebody who's in charge for the welfare of a lot of other people. They may work in kind of like social service, something to do with government, or some kind of a profession where they really seek to help other people. They advocate for other people. This may be somebody who is in the military or even in law enforcement, where they try to protect people. They try to make people feel very safe, very comfortable. They exude this energy of like being an authority figure in some manner, but this doesn't feel like somebody who almost takes advantage of that power. This is somebody with the King of Swords who is very honest, who has a lot of integrity to them, who is very much a truthful person. It's somebody where they're almost very transparent. They are who they say they are, and that comes through. They don't leave a lot to the imagination as far as like shadiness, as far as like, you know, a sense that there's something like that doesn't quite add up with this person. Although with the moon, they may be quite secretive or kind of reserved. That feels to almost do with like the nature of what they do professionally speaking, that it requires them almost to kind of like not get emotionally invested in the situations that they work in order to be able to like keep a clear head on their shoulders, to be able to make decisions. They do so from a very impartial place. So this person could also be like a judge or a lawyer, for example, some kind of an advocate, where they're helping people through like difficult or frightening situations. They're helping to bring like this energy of balance and restoration. And I'm hearing meeting of the minds as well. So this could be somebody who's like a negotiator, a mediator of some sort, something to where, again, there's a deep sense of trust and authority. This is a very knowledgeable person. This is like a highly respected person. And I'm also hearing highly decorated. So they may have a lot of kind of like certificates, or they're just thought of like very well. You know, they're highly respected by like their peers and their co-workers. This is somebody who's reliable, somebody who's dependable. If they're in the military, they may have gotten like special honors, a lot of medals, for example, acts of heroism. This can even be somebody where this can be like a firefighter, a first responder, an EMT, or even a police officer. They've gotten awards, they've gotten recognition for that. This is somebody who is, you know, a very like honest and ethical person, a very brave person. It's almost like they will go into the face of danger and very courageously do what is necessary to almost like bring people out of positions of harm. This is somebody who's a very vigilant person, who's very kind of quick-witted. This is somebody who's very sharp, very intellectual, somebody who's a very observant person, someone who knows how to really read between the lines, read a room, for example. Somebody who you might meet through friends, or is almost kind of like in a wider sort of social circle, or maybe like friends of a family member, for example. This could be a co-worker of a family member, co-worker of a friend, somebody who you meet at some kind of social gathering, maybe while you are out with friends or at some kind of a family function. It's like a +1 that somebody brings, not in terms of a date, but it's somebody that's like, they bring a friend along, like their date canceled, and so they've brought like a friend with them to whatever this function is, some kind of like a family gathering or some kind of an outing with like mutual friends, to where it's very unexpected how you encounter this person. And it almost feels to be like in this group setting. Definitely like a face-to-face situation for a lot of you. This doesn't feel to be somebody that you'll meet online, but this is like a very tangible, like real-world energy. You may meet them at a wedding, for example, or some kind of like a celebration. I'm hearing a destination wedding, so this can even be somebody where, you know, you are going to a wedding. Maybe each of you know people from, you know, the different kind of sides of that wedding, the different parties. You may both be, you know, part of that, like the part of the actual like festivities or the ceremony, you know, like a bridesmaid and a groomsman, for example, you know, or you are family members of the different people who are getting married. And so it feels like you haven't met each other. You aren't aware of each other prior to this kind of circumstance. But in this sort of social setting where there's a lot going on, there's a lot of kind of excitement. It's a very happy, joyous energy, a lot of celebration surrounding how you meet one another, like that time when you meet one another. It's almost like your eyes lock across the room and you're very drawn to one another. You strike up this conversation and it just flows so easily. The kind of situation where you find that hours have passed and you're still just very actively engaged in conversation with one another. So it's like this deep and immediate compatibility that you and this person share. They put you very much at ease. This is somebody who's very it's bringing to mind like someone who's very respectful, maybe somebody who's very old-fashioned, old-fashioned, somebody who, has a lot of manners, who may be very almost, they may have grown up in kind of doing activities, or maybe even they've come from a family almost of like high society, or a particular kind of like place maybe where they were even like working when they were younger, that they were around people from like more affluent kind of areas of life, or just in some manner, that they're just like a very respectful person. They have picked up a lot as far as social decorum is concerned. So this person may even be like a wedding planner or like an event planner in some way. They may, really help people to kind of, I don't know, like meet tradition, match tradition in some way. They could be really involved with like legacy and family, maybe something to do with like a church or a tradition, even something where it's almost like whatever they are involved in, or whatever they kind of like do for work, it's like this idea of legacy, like they're following in the footsteps of their family. It's like, kind of taking over the family business. It's things that people have done for a long time in this kind of family situation, or it was just kind of inevitable that they would sort of follow in these footsteps. This may also tie into the idea of something where, with a very kind of traditional background, even if it's not something to do with affluence, this may have to do with even like something with religion, where it's almost like if this ends up as the forever person, there may be like a series of traditions, things that are needing to be done before the two of you get married. This may be somebody who like doesn't believe in living together before you get married, for example, or it's almost just like a strict, like this idea of a tower is almost bringing to mind like a very fancy like cathedral or like a chapel, for example, something to where it's not just, you two aren't just going off to the justice of the peace. You're not just living with each other long term. Like this person is very much, again, like these traditional kind of beliefs. This may be somebody who has not had very many long-term partnerships. It feels that they have been like, maybe even like a bachelor or a bachelorette for a long period of time. They've been, kind of just focusing on work, focusing on career. They've almost got, again, just like this traditional sort of belief or practice, or something that they, were raised with as far as like how partnerships develop, this idea of like courting somebody in a very sort of formal manner, that there's a process to everything. Somebody who, even just based on the tradition and the religion that they are in currently, there may be sort of certain standards as far as like people getting together, what that looks like, a process of wanting to meet somebody's family, almost like ask for the blessing before they kind of take steps forward, wanting to really just present themselves as kind of this trustworthy person with very good intentions. This may even be something that is the result of, as you are talking to one another, and they're kind of learning about your backstory, you're exchanging with one another, there's this strong urge to really not be like the people that you dealt with in the past, to make you feel special, to make you feel appreciated, to almost like romance you in a very sort of traditional manner. Somebody who may be very, and again, this may present as very different from kind of this exterior that they present, whatever it is they do for work, or how they're needing to be very, kind of like stoic or removed, or just the way in which people perceive them, that this is someone that is very romantic at the heart of it all. It's like they want to be able to create for you as much as possible, kind of like this fairy tale romance. And so they go to, almost this very like, it's a methodical prescription of sort of like how the situation will unfold. This is somebody who has a lot of self-restraint, who has a lot of self-mastery. This may just be something very innate within them, something that they had worked towards, or something that has been really conditioned within them through their upbringing, through whatever it is they do for work, where they're not going to try and rush things. They're not going to like, on the first date, they may hold hands with you, or it almost feels like something that at a respectable distance, it'll take a while, before they kiss you for the first time, for example. It's like a prescribed kind of a process of things, a very traditional person, or somebody who just wants to do things right in this circumstance. With this idea of bear, again, this is someone who's very protective, who may work in kind of a field, something to do with, what they do professionally. And I'm hearing a helicopter pilot. So this could be something, with law enforcement. Maybe this was something to do with the military, something where they try to protect people. They try to protect something. And you feel very safe within their presence, and they want to protect your honor and integrity is what is coming through with this as well. So a lot that they're really going to hold back. They're not going to reveal all of their feelings all at once, but yet it's this very kind of, again, like two peas in a pod with one another. And it's almost this idea of kind of the mode that this person goes into when they're with you. It's almost like a romance from like olden times, like olden days, this idea of like a past life connection that you and this person shared, that they almost it feels very natural to go through this process of like, there's a timeline by which things kind of progress between the two of you, sort of like making up for lost time, or somebody with very traditional values in some manner. Somebody who, might be very intimidating as far as like what they do for work, the nature of what their job is might be a little bit off-putting to people, what they've been through, what they've seen. This is somebody who is very good at kind of like compartmentalizing that, though. And it feels like that can tie in with the idea of the moon, an element of secrecy about what they do, or they're not going to want to worry you, to stress you out. They've kind of reached this place of they're very good at like leaving work at work and being very present in the situation with you. And it's almost though with kind of this main male and this emperor, it's like they're two different people. They're one way professionally, and almost when they have to switch into that protection mode. And it's something you may see that demonstrated at a period of time, or even just something that's like instinctually, reflexively. They may be somebody who's just, kind of their energy or their body language is it's very protective of you and people that they care about. Somebody who's very much like at times on kind of high alert, very aware of their surroundings. But then when they kind of get home, when they're in these kind of comfortable surroundings, this is someone who's actually very easy to talk to, somebody who is a very genuine person, somebody who, the ease of conversation may really flow between the two of you. It may be things where you find that you have unlikely kind of aspects in common, very different kind of upbringings that the two of you have, very different backgrounds, very different things that you are doing for work, for a living. It's the idea of like opposites attract. One of you may be kind of free-spirited and sort of flamboyant in a way, and then the other is, again, kind of this almost like a prim and proper, somebody that just carries themselves with a lot of dignity and decorum. They may wear a uniform in some manner, just whatever it is that they do for a living, or kind of how they built their life, or even their background. It's very different from kind of what you are doing, and yet the two of you just you click very much with one another. This idea of the heart here, it's a timeless reading, so whenever you find this reading and the messages resonate with you, please take them accordingly. But we've just passed Valentine's Day here at the time that I'm recording this. So this may have been somebody that you've come into contact with quite recently, maybe had that initial kind of conversation where things just really flowed between the two of you. There's maybe like a little less than a week left in the month of February, so some of you may meet this person in kind of the near future, but this is definitely giving me like springtime energy, the idea of like outdoor weddings, outdoor events, outdoor parties. The month of June is also coming in very strongly, so it feels like this could be somebody that is kind of near, relatively speaking, on the horizon. They come up very suddenly. Someone who you do kind of meet for the first time, you interface, you interact with them for the first time, face to face. This isn't like an online connection, although after that first point of meeting, You may exchange contact information. This person may seek you out. That can also tie into the idea of like very traditional, like they're looking for an introduction. They're not just going to like be creepy and sort of stalk you and seek you out in that manner, but it's almost like they're going to, it feels almost like they ask somebody for permission. Like if it's okay if they call you, maybe if this is like, if they know a family member of yours, for example, they're almost like wanting to do things right, wanting to keep everything above board, wanting to make sure that you feel very much respected and seen, and that they're coming forth in like kind of in like an ethical energy here. So this could be, again, you have this intense connection with this person, with this, stranger. You both go your separate ways. Maybe this has already happened, and then like in the next few months, they seek you out. You hear from them again. It's almost like they can't stop thinking about you. You've really kind of struck a chord within them, and so they approach you, but in this very almost like in a traditional way, like they're asking you out to something. Maybe other kind of like community events, gatherings, things with other people around before sort of you work toward spending time together, sort of one-on-one. Let's see, anything else that's coming up? This person could have a beard, a mustache, a goatee, sideburns, facial hair, that at different points in time, it almost feels like seasonally, they may kind of grow a winter beard, for example, and then cut it kind of short or trim it during kind of the warmer months. You may also see them if it's kind of like a wedding or some kind of an event or a ceremony or a festival. They may be sort of clean shaven, or they've gotten their hair cut. It's kind of like trimmed very neatly. It's not how they normally would wear that, for example. So then like when you see them the next time, it's a little more bushy, it's a little more kind of grown out, but at the same time well kept, well manicured. It also feels like this might be someone who's a little bit older, in the sense that they are very established in whatever it is they do. They may be that, again, business owners, somebody who's in charge, a manager, somebody who maybe is even a vet. I'm hearing a combat vet with the idea of the wounded warrior here with the 9 of Wands. So they may be, kind of a civilian at the point when you meet them, working, in whatever kind of job that they do, but with that kind of military background. It's something that has really stuck with them, their training. They may be very much like a morning person. They're very regimented in their kind of day-to-day activities. They keep to a schedule. They may be very physically fit, definitely prioritizing that as well. Someone who's works in like intelligence, somebody who maybe even like works in the tech industry, or is some kind of a consultant, or even in something to do with security in some manner. So I'm going to get some Zodiac cards here to get a little bit deeper into kind of like when you might meet this person, anything that comes up as well as far as timing is concerned with this. Okay, so we have eclipse in Cancer, acceptance, an emotional phase or domestic development. Moon in Scorpio, transformation, a change in your emotional life. And Sun in Taurus, practicalities, boost self-worth and finances. So with this word transformation here with Scorpio, I'm hearing a change in plans. So again, this may be somebody that at the last minute joins something, comes along, is brought somewhere, and that's how you meet them. It feels like a very unexpected, like with that idea of the tower, it's like you magnetize each other from across a room almost, that it's very unexpected what is stirred within you, the effect that the two of you have on one another. And all connections, they have their ups and downs, but it feels like what is really coming through in this reading is just this emphasis here on this deeply magnetic connection, where this is someone that you can feel safe to almost express a part of yourself that is not normally encouraged to come out in connections, that in some way this person has a lot of like, they are marriage material in some manner. This is somebody who makes you feel very supported, very sturdy, very comfortable and confident to stand in your authenticity. It's almost like you're not having to go it alone anymore. They bring out a part of you that is maybe not, again, encouraged in other connections, or that you've not really been able to express about yourself before. So that might be the biggest challenge in this situation, is again just taking up a different role, allowing someone to help you, allowing someone to support you, allowing your kind of a side of yourself to be seen and known in a romantic capacity that is not usually appreciated. It is not usually something which even energetically is kind of coaxed out from the aspect of you. Whereas you may have been needing to be very self-protective at times, or you were just kind of dealing with people where there was maybe some shadiness or some uncertainty. It feels like this person is just, they're so different. They may even be somebody who others might describe as kind of like buttoned up or boring or traditional or kind of dry or stuffy, but there's something about them that's just comforting. It's predictable. It's easy. There's excitement to it, but at the same time, there's not all the like drama and challenge and the uncertainty and the deception that you could have dealt with previously, to where they're almost just like, it's simple, but it's good. It flows. It feels good to not have to struggle and to worry and to kind of like keep an eye out for, things falling apart, things falling awry. It's almost like this person encourages you to take down your armor, take down the walls around your heart. They show you a different kind of face of how love can be. This intense and like fiery energy that doesn't come through conflict and triggering and kind of extreme polarities, but it's something that just in a very like simple manner, it just works between the two of you. This energy of Cancer, this really does talk about like the home and the hearth. So this can tie into that idea of marriage and also the soulmates here on the Two of Cups. That this can definitely be a forever person, that this next big romance may just be the person that you marry. And they are very much representing like a feeling of home. They make you feel at home. They put you at ease. They make you feel comfortable in expressing parts of yourself that have not been encouraged in romances before, or that you don't ordinarily present to the world. And so it's refreshing, but at the same time uncomfortable, because it's almost like aspects of yourself brought to the forefront that don't normally see the light of day, or that not many people recognize and appreciate and encourage to come forth out of you. It's parts of yourself that are not normally almost instinctually and in subtle ways encouraged to come forth. And this idea also of like, with Taurus, this can be, a very grounded energy. So again, somebody who's very reliable, very stable, somebody who's very well established in their profession. Even the idea of the Tower can talk about someone who owns their own home. They may work in construction. Maybe they fix up houses. They may work in real estate or banking, for example. Somebody who's very reliable, very much, they mean what they say. They follow through on the promises that they make. A very logical person. They have emotions. They're a very, loving and caring person, but at the same time, it feels like through what they do professionally, or some kind of like a background, maybe even like a military background, they know how to really compartmentalize and how to kind of bring a different version of themselves forth. Almost, I'm hearing when duty calls. So somebody who may be kind of duty bound, contractually bound. They've signed some kind of an oath or a contract for whatever it is that they're doing professionally. This can even tie into like someone who came from a military family, whatever they're doing professionally. It's like a legacy kind of thing, following in the footsteps of maybe many generations. It's a timeless reading, so whenever you come across these messages, take them as they resonate. But at the time when I'm recording this, we just entered Pisces season, so Taurus is a couple months away, and then Cancer shortly thereafter. This can really fit in these two energies here, because in the northern hemisphere, Taurus would be like springtime energy, Cancer's summer. So that can definitely fit into the idea of like outdoor festivities, outdoor gatherings, outdoor weddings, for example. So somebody that you may meet in the very kind of like relatively speaking near future, as the weather warms up, as you are getting invitations, as you're out and about, just out with friends, out by yourself, just at any kind of, thing where there's people involved in an in-person setting. This is kind of that point of like the two of you locking eyes across the room and starting up that conversation. Maybe for some of you, it's just that very intense eye contact, and that this person then takes some time to seek you out. They just can't forget you. They want to know more. They want to get to know you. This can be, kind of like that sort of summertime, late spring, summer is sort of like when you first interact. And then by the time Scorpio season comes around in like the autumn, things are sort of taking off. They are, kind of in that traditional sense, and they're at the point where they're wanting to court you. They're wanting to date you. They've made sure that they are ready for this, trying to do this in a respectable manner. The connection builds very sort of gradually between the two of you. This person's not rushing into anything. They want to do things right. What they feel stirred for you, it's not something which is so intense that it causes them to run in the other direction. This feels like someone who is grounded enough within themselves that as much as it may really stir something at the soul level, be very unexpected. They're not the kind of person that is going to run in the face of fear, maybe just even through what they do for a living, that they're really used to kind of that rush of adrenaline. They're really used to kind of situations where a lot is unclear, and so it's almost like they walk towards this rather than run from that, which may also be so different from kind of the types of relationships and people you were used to dealing with in your past. So somebody who might be not too far off on the horizon, but this is definitely someone who's going to want to do things right, going to take their time. They're not going to rush in. They're going to want to savor the time you spend together. It's bringing to mind like long summer days and evenings, and just making the most of like simple moments, occasions that they get to spend with you. So I'm going to get some attribute cards, and there's a little bit of everything in here. There's physical characteristics, personality traits, zodiac signs. So we'll just see what comes through. And we have Ascension, so this can definitely talk about a connection that can be leading to something very long-term. This may be your forever person. You could get married. The idea of Ascension too is it's going to be a slow climb with this person. They're not going to rush all in. They're not going to show all their cards right away. This is someone who's going to leave something to mystery. They're not going to push you. They're not going to rush you. This is going to be someone who's going to gradually allow things to unfold. And the idea of Ascension too is like there's more than meets the eye with this person. They may come across again as kind of like stuffy or boring, or just kind of ordinary, not exciting, not like your usual type that you may be dealing with. But as you get to know them, and again kind of that where you're just clicking, you're like two peas in a pod, that you very quickly sort of like open up and experience new parts of each other. There's something very unexpected about this person compared to what they sort of give off on the surface. And we have Libra, so that may be somewhere in their chart, or that can also relate to the months of September and October. And we have automobiles, so they may be mechanically inclined, a mechanic, a car salesman, work in finance or in the credit industry. They may do something with like military vehicles. They may drive around in a police car, for example. Something where they travel for work as well, or you meet them. Maybe they live at a distance from you, so it's like a drive away from one another. It takes some time to kind of cross that distance, cross that divide between the two of you. And we have manifestation, so somebody who has really created a life of abundance for themselves, somebody who's very confident, very self-assured, has all of what they want in their life, and it almost feels like love is the last kind of missing component to the situation. And we've got wedding, so another confirmation there, like with the marriage card, that this can definitely be your forever person. This next big romance may be the love of your life, the one that you end up with, the one you have been searching for and who has been searching for you. This can also tie into how you meet them at some kind of outdoor wedding or festivity. And we have same age, so that can be that peas in the pod energy there, where you have a lot in common. You really click, you really resonate with one another. It's an equal give and take in terms of the exchange of energy and information. A lot that you really have in common, which might be very unusual because of kind of the outside appearance. That what would the two of you possibly have in common? What could you have to talk about? And then you find out that there's so much more there than meets the eye. This could also be somebody who's a contemporary. So maybe you meet them at some kind of a reunion, some kind of a gathering or get together, or even a wedding of people you grew up with, colleagues or classmates, for example. This can even be somebody who is a colleague or a family member or a friend of somebody that you grew up with or went to school with. And we have round face as a physical attribute. Chef. So somebody who may be in culinary school, somebody who's good around the kitchen, somebody who works in a restaurant, owns a restaurant, someone who will make you breakfast in bed, someone who's very handy around the kitchen, which may be quite surprising considering like what they do ordinarily for work, that you wouldn't expect them to be necessarily very domestic in terms of their skills and abilities. And we have piercings, so that can be relevant. This can also tie into somebody who was kind of a little bit wild in their youth and maybe has settled down in some way for whatever it is that they do professionally at this point in time, so that when you see them, almost like old pictures of them, it's quite surprising compared to sort of the impression that they give at this point in time of being a little bit boring, a little bit kind of a button-up sort of person who wears like a uniform or a suit, for example. And we have friend, so that can tie into that idea of like a community connection between the two of you. Somebody who's like a friend of a friend, you meet them through a friend. It's a deep friendship that's established between the two of you, a lot that you have in common beyond kind of the realm of romance. This may even be somebody who wants to start off and build the friendship first before they just open that door to love. Maybe they've been hurt in love before, they have learned what not to do. And so this time around, in this situation with you, they want to do things different. They want to do things right. And we have July, so that can be a significant month. That also ties into the idea of Cancer season. And we have social activist, so that can talk about first responders, somebody who's in politics, somebody who works with the community, wants to help, wants to solve problems, make the world a better place, somebody who may be very familiar with and interested in kind of social topics, politics. This may be something that you share in common. Even if you have different views on these things, it's almost like compelling conversations, not where there's debate, but where there's, there's debate, like healthy debate, but not like where you're fighting or you're really at odds with one another, but where there's this actual exchange of information. You're really learning from one another's perspectives. And we have hobby, so some kind of a shared hobby or interest the two of you could have that could connect you. It could be while doing these hobbies, maybe something outdoors even, something such as like hiking, some kind of a group activity that takes place and this person joins in, you meet them through that. They could have something very specific that they do as a hobby, as kind of like a side business, a side hustle, a side profession, aside from whatever their kind of like main source of income is. And we have dancing, so that can tie in with the idea of like a wedding, marriage, some kind of a function or a festival that you meet them at where there's celebration, there's music, there's dancing. This person could be a very good dancer. They could, want to take you out dancing. It's bringing to mind the idea of like dancing, slow dancing in the kitchen, so that can tie in with the chef card as well. Somebody who's very romantic on the inside, which may be very different from kind of the outside appearance that they present. And we have city, so someone who works or lives in a big city, an urban environment. This can tie in with the idea of like social activist, first responder, maybe a lot of danger that they're dealing with. They work or even live in kind of a rough part of town, something that they are dealing with like city planning, city works, something to do with government, maybe a civil servant. They work for the city, the county, the state, the municipality, even kind of like a federal government employee in some manner. And we have September, so another significant month there, and that can also tie into the zodiac signs of Virgo and Libra. So I'm going to close this out with some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got C, S, Y, R, V, and H. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And now through the end of the month of February, I'm running a sale in my Etsy shop. Everything's marked down 15%, so if you've had your eye on anything, now might be a good time to act upon that, as I don't often run sales. I've also launched a second channel here on YouTube. It's called Lady of the Dawn Tarot, and there's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format there is a little different from here. I do pick-a-card readings as well as general energy check-ins, but the subject matters that I cover are related to spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.